so there's some space in front of you. Settle the feet so they're about distance apart, maybe even a little wider than that if that's comfortable. And then tuck the chin, fold the body over, let the arms hang down, let the head hang down. It's not necessary that your hands get to the floor, but maybe they do. And then roll yourself back up. If this is the first thing you've done exercise-wise, or you've been sitting down for quite a few hours, expect that you're going to be a bit stiff and maybe even a little bit tender in the back of the legs or your lower back. Make sure that the chin tucks first, and then you want to hang the rest of the head down. Kind of difficult to judge because you won't be able to see yourself most likely, but know that if you keep the chin tucked in, it will keep the back of your neck long. If the knees bend or you'd like to bend them so you can hang down a little further, please feel free. Last one, roll yourself down. And back up. Spread the feet a little bit wider, so you turn the toes out, turn the knees out, and then push the arms out in front with palms facing each other and squat down. It's not necessary that you get all the way to the floor. I just like you to go as low as you can and then stand back up. Arms out in front as you go down is a good down balance to help you shift the weight back to the heels. You could rest them by your side as you start to come up, or keep them out in front the whole time. Shuffle around your foot position until you feel like you can get a little deeper. So not everybody needs a big turnout. And if you try not to think about it too much, but just wriggle the feet, often you'll end up sorting out a good depth. If you've got lots of clicking and crunching, know that that's really normal. Sometimes it's less than others. You're not doing any damage. If you've got pain during this or anything else that we do let me know about that. This time, up and stay up. Bring the legs all the way together so they're as stiff and as close together as they can be. Bring the arms behind your head, elbows wide. Buttocks backward. And lean down a little. This is a difficult one to capture if you're watching it and mimic it visually for the first time. So it's called a hip hinge, which means very little unless you can actually picture what a hinge is. So I don't know how often you oil your hinges on your doors, but that's usually the most familiar one. Two flat bits of metal that open and close at the same rate, and they both stay stiff. So that idea is you're hinging at the hip. One flat bit of metal is the legs, one flat bit of metal is your torso. So that will often mean that if you're keeping those two structures stiff, you'll lean less than you'd expect. So you're pushing the buttocks backward, trying to feel the back of the legs. It's less important how low your torso goes. Keep the elbows wide and the head pushing up into the hands. That will help keep your neck long. Last 3. And then swing the arms off. Come down to your mat, please. Place your hands under your shoulders and your knees under your hips. And if that already feels like a lot of pressure on the wrists, then please roll up your mat a couple of times so you've got more cushioning. Turn the fingers out slightly and then tuck the chin, round the back and try and see up towards your belly button or through the legs. Then reverse the shape of the spine, which is to drop your belly all the way down, lift the chest up and lift the tailbone up. Move between the two shapes, however far you can move, so it should feel like you're reaching for it, but it might look very different across the class. Keep the arms stiff the whole time, so you're consistently pressing the floor away from you. When you're moving from the rounded shape to the extension, which is chest up, try and lift the chest more than you do the face. So it's less important that the face looks upward, more that you get that dip in between the shoulder blades and you try and lift the collarbones up against the shirt. But if your wrists are a little bit sore now, then go ahead and roll up the mat so you've got a bit more cushioning. And we're going to stay in this position. We're going to lift the left knee in and underneath you so the body goes rounded like the cat stretch. Press the leg out to straight behind you. Attempt not to fall over. And now we're going to add in. Turn over the left shoulder and look at the left toes. Bend the left knee and bring it upward towards your arm. Press it out to straight behind you and turn to look at the floor. Tuck the left leg in, round the back. Press the left leg out to straight, look over the shoulder, and then bring the knee towards you. Alternate between those two. If it makes more sense to your brain to do a couple of reps of each before you change, please do that. We're doing one rounded and then one turn and bend. But it's not the only way you could do it. That's just what I'm showing you at the moment. When you turn over the left shoulder and try and bring the left knee into you, often your right arm will be bending, but it won't feel like it is. So press harder against the right hand to compensate and have a little check on it with your eyes every now and then. Make sure it's stiff and you're pushing hard against the floor. If you're feeling the right side of the body more than the left, and you're wondering if that's okay, that's really normal. But the brain will concentrate on the moving part, so that's the turning of the body and the bending of the knee. But the right hand side of the body, right arm, right shoulder, right knee and hip, so the glute area, is doing a lot of work to hold you steady. So maybe that's what you feel more strongly. Last one in, and then switch. If you need to roll out through the wrists, you can sit back and do that, and you can also do that at any point during the sequence. Another option is to go up onto your fists. Keeping both arms steady, you can probably balance comfortably on the fists, and that lessens the load of the wrist. Right leg in and underneath you, right leg out to straight, turn to look over the right shoulder, bend the knee, bring it up, press it out to straight, and then tuck it in underneath. The movement will be more familiar to you this time, so you could quicken the pace if you'd like to. It's not necessary, it's just an option. Try and keep the arms stiff the whole time, particularly pressing into the left hand as you're looking over the right shoulder. Go ahead and crunch as much as you can on the right side, so until it feels a little bit uncomfortable. There shouldn't be much more space you can get into. Folding the ribs close to the top of the hip, and all of the muscles have to bunch up in between that. So it's going to feel a bit cramped. Last one, tuck it in. Then look over the shoulder, bring it into you. And you're done with that one. Flip over onto your back, please, legs out in front. Have a soft bend in them. So by soft, I mean they're a little bit further away from you. A tight bend is where there's a deep crease at the knee. So a soft bend at the knee, legs touching each other, so they're squeezing against each other. Take the arms overhead, so it's fingernails to the floor. Tuck the chin. You're going to reach the fingers past the level of the knees and sit up. Maybe you got there in the sit up, maybe you didn't. You can always use your hands to crawl up on your own legs. Lift the arms to the ceiling. Lower the arms back down towards the level of the knees. Round the back, so you're spreading the back of the shirt and roll down. Even if it seems really simple for you, try and go smooth and steady and just wait. We always do enough reps in Pilates that even if you're finding it easy in the beginning, you won't by the end. Arms overhead, arms to the ceiling. Tuck the chin to sit up. Once you're up, lift the arms tall. You do a straight spine, reach the arms tall, and then round to go back down. If you need some more assistance for your neck because that's feeling a bit strained, you can bring one hand behind it and alternate which hand is holding the head. Squeeze the legs against each other. Try and make the chin the first thing to tuck and the last thing to untuck. And that applies whether you're holding the head or not. Last two. Curl down, stay down. Bring both legs in against you, and I want you to hug the arms around the shin, so you're bringing the thighs as close to you as you possibly can. And then curl your head and shoulders up. So you're using the legs to curl up to the fire. Bring both hands to the right leg. Reach the left leg out as straight as you can. It's fairly comfortable to rest it near the floor, so we're going to lift it up about halfway between ceiling and floor, and then curl up with the tighter towards your right knee. Switch and catch. If you need assistance for the neck, because that's the thing you're most focused on, how uncomfortable that feels, bring one hand behind and have one hand doing the catch and pull. Use the fact that you're grabbing the legs as an assist, so you can curl up to meet them, keeping the chin tucked in, shoulders up and off the floor. If this is new, often you hold your breath. So try and breathe in and out, even if it's a bit jagged or not quite even at the moment. Tuck the chin way in. Remember to take the assistance of holding the head if you're really aware of the neck. 10. Rest yourself down. So have about a medium bend of the knees this time, or heels roughly under the knees will be about right. Push the arms down beside you, a little bit of space between the feet, and then roll the hips up, roll them back down. The very basic of it is get your buttocks to lift up on the floor and then back down. Once you've got that, and you're aware of pushing the heels down and pushing the arms down, then try and build in somewhat of a rolling action. So from up, when you've lifted the hips and you've got some clearance, slow down the descent and try and get each piece of the rib cage and then about the waistband of the pants, and finally your buttocks will get to the floor. Sometimes that'll feel smooth and easy. A lot of the time, this will be
Is the video gone for everyone? Did the teacher get disconnected?
Yeah.
Have I got you back now, guys?
Yes.
Yeah, I can see you.
Oh,
I
good.
can.
Yeah, everything is okay now.
Perfect. The joys of the virtual world. Well done for being patient. So we were head and shoulders curled up, legs into you, and then straight legs up, straight-ish. Be aware that a knee bend is often where it looks like at this point. Down towards the floor, about half the way or even a third of the way, pull the heels into you, bring the knees into you, and then try and straighten the legs up. So it's down, pull the heels into you, knees into you, try and straighten up. From the outside, there's not much difference in terms of look if you're just sort of softly waving the legs about, vaguely bending the knees. So you need to create the difference, which is the work. Make the legs as straight as you can, push them away from you, and then a deep bend at the knees. Try and get the heels to pull into your buttocks until you feel like you're going to cramp at the back of the legs. Then fold the thighs hard against your belly so there's a deep connection there, and then aim to straighten the legs up. So it's down, pull until you're going to get a cramp, fold until it's difficult to breathe, and then try and take the legs up. Notice that when you're bringing the knees and thighs hard against you, that point where I'm saying try and make it difficult to breathe, that pushes your back really close to the floor. So that's a great opportunity to know what it feels like when your back is in contact with the floor. And as the legs go away, try and keep some sort of connection, some feeling that you are holding the back close to the floor. Last 3. 1. And rest. One more set of hip rolls before we move on from this position. So curl the hips up, curl back down. The hips is the part that's lifting, and then the curling or rolling refers to trying to get your spine to go up piece by piece and down piece by piece. Push the arms down, push the heels down. Last 3. And 1. Sit up one more time so that you can flip yourself over and then lay on your belly, please. Spread the legs a little bit wider than your hip distance. Often that's where they naturally end up, but if they're together, split them apart a little bit. Place the palms and the elbows on the floor so they're bent, and have your elbows just slightly lower than your shoulders. Those little cactus arms, kind of like the cartoon cactus shape. The elbows lower than shoulders, palms flat. Tuck the chin in so your face will be pretty close to the floor and you're looking down at the floor. Lift the elbows, lift the forearms, lift the palms so the cactus arms are going up and then back down to the floor. It's arms and shoulder blades doing the work, not you lifting your chest. So hopefully if you've watched a couple, know that I'm going to let you know when we move on. Tuck the chin in so your gaze will be down on the floor. And you're aiming to keep the elbows bent so the arms stay in the same arrangement. Palms are flat down towards the floor the whole time. You lift them up, they stay bent. Put them all down, they stay bent. As you're lifting the arms and the hands, try and get the shoulder blades to come down from your ears a little. If it's uncomfortable in your lower back, tighten your belly so you're sucking it upwards from the floor. That means a tightening, you're not actually going to get a clearance of space between your belly flash and the floor. but there's a difference between passively resting and drawing it up a little bit. Keep squeezing and lifting the arms, moderate pace up until you think you're as high as you can be, and then lower back down. If your shoulders or chest are tight, you'll get very little lift from the floor, and it'll probably feel frustrating. It's still important, no matter what range you can get to build the muscles of the upper and mid back. Five. All right, rest down. So you can rest your forehead or your chin on the mat so that your neck gets a little bit of a rest. And then stretch the arms out in front of you so they're straight, fingers reaching forward, palms on the floor. For the first couple, keep your palms on the floor. You need to draw the belly up a little bit, push into the toes so that your legs stiffen up, and then sweep the arms out and away from you, down towards the hips. Keep the palms on the floor for now. And if you ever want to lessen the load, you can bring the palms to being back on the floor. The higher up the arms go, the more muscles you use around the neck. So if that's aggravating for you, keep the arms in the range just around the shoulder and down to the hips. To add extra load, bring the hands off the floor. So you're doing a reverse snow angel. Sweeping the arms as far away from you as you can, which means always reaching out through the fingernails and trying to keep yourself stiff across the elbow. Keep the chin tucked in. I'll let you know when we're moving on. Just keep drawing the biggest sweeping circles that you can. Last 5. And 1. Whilst you've got some feeling and sensation in the upper back, press the palms onto the floor a little bit higher than your shoulders, but around about where your thumbs are on the mat, so it's narrower than we had before. Push down into the palms to lift the elbows off, and then keep pushing to maybe straighten the arms and lift the chest up. Unimportant how high you get, is important that you just keep trying to do continuous reps of lifting the chest and lowering back down. To increase the height that you're going to get, which is extra extension in the spine, you bring the hands closer to you and further down towards your feet. If you need to lessen the load because your back is uncomfortable, then have the hands further out in front of you. And maybe it's just the smallest lift of the elbows up and down that you're okay with for today. Try not to think about whether it looks impressive in terms of how much height you're getting, but more, are you pulling the shoulders down from the ears as you start to lift up? And are you keeping the motion continuous? Almost everybody will experience a bit of discomfort or unfamiliar feeling in the lower back the more you push up. If it's not shooting down the back of your legs or anywhere else, and it's not hot, tingly, or the sort of pain that you're worrying about, always pay attention to your own worry. There might be a good reason. We might need to change something for you. If it's just kind of annoying and it feels weird, like you're a bit jammed up there or it's really tight, that's all within a normal range. You're pushing bits of bone against bits of bone. And it's important for strength and mobility, but particularly if you're spending a lot of time sitting, this is the opposite shape for the spine. I know it's a lot of reps, but it takes a few to settle in and then a few to start to build. Try and stick with it even if this is really uncomfortable for you. Another 5. Try and pull the shoulders down from the ears before you lift. And like the beginning shape, try and get the chest up against your shirt more than you are lifting the face. Come down, fold yourself back to sit on your heels, and please don't worry if your back is a bit twingy at this point. That'll be normal. So tuck the knees up underneath you, fold back, and if it feels really tender or sore, just spend a bit longer here. Arms out in front or arms behind you, whichever of those feels more comfortable. Or you could make a pillow for your head so that your neck doesn't have to do very much at all. However you folded yourself over, take some larger inhales so you fill up more of your shirt. Bring yourself up. Finish twisting, so try not to duck off unless you really have to. It's still an incredibly worthwhile action for the spine. Legs a little bit raised, so you bent at the knee, and then sit up tall. Often with a bent knee, you can sit up taller than you would with legs out in front, so try and make that happen. Swing the right arm across the body so that it ends up somewhere on the left, outer left leg. Stay sitting up tall rather than leaning back, and swing the left arm behind you. Palm, fingertips, grasping the edge of your mat, whatever, as long as the left arm pulls somewhat behind you. Then aim to inhale, make it big, and see if you can find the stickier spots around the ribs where it feels a bit tender or maybe stuck. Twist a little bit more if you can after a few breaths, so you walk the left hand a little bit further. It's always about what we're trying to do with the spine, not so much the face. So the tendency will be to turn and look wherever you're headed towards. So you can just rest the gaze on nothing so the neck stays relaxed. Do the other side, sit up tall, swing the left arm across. Bring the right hand behind. You try and pull a little with the right palm or the right fingertips, and then you're pushing against your own body with the left arm. That will help turn your ribs a bit more. The right arm or the arm that's behind you could be bent or it could be straight, whichever feels comfortable. Right. If you've got a bit more time, I suggest that you hang out and do some more meditation or breathing or a bit more stretching, because it's a nice way to finish off your half-hour of movement. But if you've got to get back to whatever you're doing, this is our class time. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Hello.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Thanks, Danny. Thanks, Annie.
Can I ask you that question about the wrists that I put in the chat? I've got fibromyalgia, and I love doing exercises where I'm on my hands and knees.
Yeah.
My wrists often get really fatigued and I can't stay there.
Mm-hmm.
When that happens, like I put a cushion under my hands today, and that meant that I could go for longer.
Yeah.
But I still got to the point where I just couldn't. Is there a modification that I can do, like maybe on my elbows or something that would
Yeah,
still
almost
prevent it?
always. I'm sorry I missed that question. When I cut out from, I don't know how it cut out, but there's nothing in my chat box now, so I didn't see that, I'm afraid.
Okay.
So it's, bear in mind that when your wrist is really creased like that, which is how it is when you're a flat palm, that's a lot of load, and it'll feel uncomfortable if the load ends up on that softer part of the hand. So rolling up a towel or the mat as you did, or a cushion, is really useful. You can also instead of having flat hands, put your fists on the floor. So there's no creases at the wrist when you've got a fist shape, and that's often much easier to stabilize. But most things can be achieved on your forearms. It just might make you feel a little bit more cramped if it's a leg exercise, but still beneficial.
Yeah. Well, usually I can at least start with my wrist.
Yeah.
I've tried the fist before, but I think the way that my pain is, the weight bearing of that hurts as well.
Yeah, okay.
But just having alternatives, I think, are good to just keep me going.
So if the wrist, like the fist is uncomfortable, do you have a set of small dumbbells?
Yeah.
Okay, so hand weights can be really useful. I don't have any right next to me, but like they've got the rounded bit at either end and then the handle in the middle. So when you're holding the handle, your knuckles will be clear of the floor, but you're still in that straight wrist position. Can you picture what I mean? Like you're holding them, but then you put them on the ground?
Yeah, I just got my dumbbells now. I'm going to try it.
Okay, so that would be the other one that often works, because you're gripping and therefore you've got the strength of the fingers and the strength of the arm to help hold your body weight.
That feels good, but now then I feel the pain in my thumbs. But it's good to change the pain area.
Yeah.
I think my hands are a bit big for my dumbbells. Like they feel like they're too wide for the length.
It might just be that, so it takes a long time to build wrist strength, and or you tire a bit more quickly with the fibromyalgia, like that inflammation response sets up earlier. So as many things that we've given you 3 options just there, that and you know of some as well, just rotating between them. And when they get sore, move them around. So circular motion to try and loosen them up again.
Yeah.
And persist. Right. No, you're probably very good and a very persistent person if you've got that condition.
I'm really enjoying these classes. I thought that I would find them a lot harder because I haven't been exercising that much recently.
Yeah.
And I definitely can't do all the reps, but I can do most of them. And then I'm not as sore later as I thought I would be. So that's really good.
That's so great. Well done.
Yeah. Thank you.
Such a pleasure. Hope I see you next week.
Oh, you will.
Okay.
Right.
Great. Bye.
Bye.